Michael Jackson, Blood on the Dance Floor, original studio Multitracks.
Michael, it's completely taken the track to a different level.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome to hear. Thank you, unnamed friend, for all these wonderful journeys I've been able to go on. And thank you for watching these Michael Jackson breakdowns. I know I keep saying this, but every single time there is way more, and a particular way of way more, that I hear these songs. On this one, I had no idea there was so much mouth percussion. The last video I did, Smooth Criminal, there were some things that popped up there that I thought were, maybe Michael, but also just part of the grander mix. This studio mix doesn't do it justice for what Michael really does. His sonic qualities, the way that he's able to be multiple versions of himself and different characters, different levels of intensity, and create these layers that create a whole that's, sorry to be cliche, way greater than the sum of its parts. That's not as much of a cliche as it might seem once you actually hear and see what he's doing here. The music's cool. The hidden or previously hidden vocal stuff is just off the charts on this one. Part of what enables me to do these kind of breakdowns with Michael Jackson or other artists using the studio Multitracks and the original copyrighted material is that this is an education channel. I teach people how to sing, and if you have any interest in learning how to use your voice in new and creative ways, click the link below and join my free voice course. Because this is an education channel, the way that I use these tracks falls under fair use. But there are some stipulations. Michael Jackson's copyright owners will allow me to use this material as long as there is use of frequent stops, there is not the whole song played all the way through, there's commentary, there's little bits of the song played in isolation with tidbits, educational ideas, and demonstrations. I've got to blend the goodness of what we're doing here with inspiration on how we can use what they're doing in our own art, in our own voices. We'll go over some of the music Easter eggs first, and then we'll get into the goodness of the vocals. This bass sample, then it gets into the groove. So iconic. The 808 going on there. A lot of these sounds, they're so commonplace today. I mean, they're in every Logic library, and it's really easy to get sounds like this. But when this was recorded, these sounds were so fresh and new. The sound of the organ here. So fun to hear in isolation. And then the way that they use the strings, I mean, there's a lot more keys. This is a much simpler mix than some of the other tracks. That's all that's there. That's all that's on the track. It's interesting how layered instrumentally these parts are. When you listen to the full mix just right there, and this is my mix, this is not really mixed. And there's all sorts of background vocals and stuff going on there as well, but they really layer it up for certain parts. It's like it simulates this sort of horn section, jazzy sort of stabs kind of arranging. Layered claps. And I've commented on this style of playing before. Listen to this. So incredibly clean, and you can see when you zoom into these tracks, they're acoustic performances. I mean, that's that's real guitar, and they're not the same sort of sampled sounds that you might think they are, because there's almost this sterility around them. But this kind of guitar playing is extremely difficult to do, to be clean, to not have the string ring, to have real groove, not quantization, but real groove within the context of the music. I mean, ugh.
To escape the world, I got to enjoy that simple dance and see that everything was on my...
It's not easy to find that kind of groove in combination with digital music, because this stuff is all performed. A lot of times it's programmed now. Really, really nice. Okay, let's get into the vocals. You're going to be so surprised. Okay. This is the first thing that knocked me out of my chair. I'm just going to play it from the beginning. Ugh, I did not hear this stuff in the studio mix.
Matt, hurt me.
You can hear the bleed. Ah. Okay, now listen. When you go back and listen to the original studio mix, because you've heard this now, you'll be like, oh, yeah, I hear that. But it doesn't stick out enough. Oh, and the thing that really sticks out to me here is, yes, there's lots of percussion going on. And I'll talk about this a little bit later. But pay attention to his breathing. His breathing must be circular. It must be extremely and ultimately rhythmic in and of itself in order for this to work at all. Such a master. But as we go forward, also listen for the many different flavors of Michael. I mean, you'll see what I mean. It evolves a little bit as we go on here. I just want to make my breath percussive as I listen to what he does. As I am inspired by his groove, I don't have the coordination with my mouth yet. I'm sure I will get there when I practice. But the first step to really start grooving with your vocals is to make your breath percussive. And it almost is an unconscious thing that happens to me when I listen to these parts with Michael Jackson right here. Okay, now listen to this. What's really interesting here listen to how these two things interact. They're both going on in the final mix, but you don't hear them much. Oh yeah. The syncopation is just nuts. Okay? Now I'm going to add another one in.
It's out there. Every night's together like taking a chance. It's not about loving romance. Now you're gonna get it. Every hot man is out taking a chance. It's not about loving romance. Now you do forget it.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. You pass off. I mean, let me just mute these real quick and play a very brief section of the instruments. You just don't hear it that. I mean, that sounds very similar to the original mix. So glad we get to hear these. Listen to this beginning when the words come in. Just that. We're not going to do the beatboxing stuff behind it.
She got your number. She know your game. Look what you're under. It's so insane. You're seduced. How does it feel to know this woman is out to kill?
Notice how guttural he is and I mean, he's grunty. And I think as Michael Jackson got older, there was this sense that he could do more with his voice. There were some limitations based on age and tiring his voice out and stuff like that. But he was able to branch out and make way more variety of sounds. It's almost like he was becoming a better imitator of other instruments as he got older. It really, really profound to see that evolve in his singing. And this is a really good example of this. Listen to the gang or doubled vocals that's behind him. And notice how the characters change.
She got your number. She know your game. Look what you're under. It's so insane.
Okay, now listen to the center panned one.
She got your number. She know your game. Look what you're under. It's so insane.
Similar characters. This guy is more, the center panned one is more guttural, and then the other ones are a bit sweeter sounding. Granted, they're doubled, and so that's going to sweeten them already. But listen here in this next section. Doubled.
Since you seduced, how does it feel to know that woman is out to kill?
Now, center pan.
Seduced, how does it feel to know that woman is out to kill?
Another departure. The center panned ones get gruffer, more percussive, and grittier, and almost more whispery, and the outpan, the stereo doubled ones get more sweet. So we have this sort of crossover arranging thing happening that Michael's doing. It's really cool, and it gets even more extreme. Listen here.
Every night together like taking a chance. It's not about love and romance. And now you're gonna get it.
Oh. Okay, then listen to this. Same panned out thing. Listen right here. I mean, he does this. He creates an inverse of what he's doing in the center pan track. The stereo pan stuff now becomes really, really whispery. I mean, he's not even really vocalizing. It's just like this. Like this. And then he creates a cleaner,
every night together like taking a chance. It's not about love and romance. And now you're gonna
almost a head voice. I'm gonna sing like this, but still be really rhythmic. Yeah. And then we create this percussion out of those outwardly panned vocals. What this does, as he goes like this and intelligently moderates the balance of style between these two characters, when you listen to the studio mix, you have this sense that there's this call and answer, or this play between them, where sometimes it's all about the same intensity, but sometimes it grows from the edges and the fringes, sometimes it grows here, sometimes there's more melody here, sometimes there's more melody here. It's absolutely genius. And you hear so much of this kind of stuff in later, like Justin Timberlake and Bruno Mars and stuff like that. This kind of production really set the stage for those. Now let's listen to this section with the full mouth percussion that's happening.
every night together like taking a chance. It's not about love and romance. And now you're gonna get it.
Oh my! Next section. I told you I had to stop.
Every hot minute I'm taking a chance. It's not about love and romance. And now you do get it.
Listen to how whispery, it gets even more whispery on these outwardly panned.
Every hot minute I'm taking a chance. It's not about love and romance. And now you do get it.
There's still that bit of grunt. This isn't just whispering like this. This is stage whisper. Stage. You hear guys like Marilyn Manson do this kind of stuff. The beautiful people. It's that kind of thing. Coupled with the breath that he's doing and other whisper techniques. This is compressed. He's lifting something heavy while he is whispering. Really, really interesting. And then he goes even more, I don't want to say sheepish, but reserved maybe, more melodic here.
Every hot man is out taking a chance. It's not about love and romance, and I just duplicate it.
He still has those wonderful percussion moments, but it's pretty clean. All right, now we get to witness the uncompressed, like raw off the mic, Michael Jackson right here.
To escape the world, I got to enjoy that simple dance and seem that everything was on my side.
I love how his voice saturates, how he's able to add that wonderful grit. Listen here again.
To escape the world, I got to enjoy that
There's this crescendo of grit that happens. And I'm not even going to try to imitate what he does, but I can sort of put the approach in my own voice. I can crescendo this grit. I can add grit over the top by compressing, using the same technique that he was using earlier to whisper. I can add that to my clean voice. I know, I know, I know, I know, I know. We create this wonderful saturation that happens with our voice. That's not simply by distorting our normal vocal cords. That's by using false chords. That's by using tissues above our vocal cords to engage over our clean voice. Super cool.
To escape the world, I got to enjoy that simple dance and seem that everything was on my side.
Let's listen to these backing vocals here.
Blood on my side. I just can't take it.
I talk about like horn arranging, right? This stuff, he's being a horn player here with his voice. So interesting. And we've got these little things coming, these little incidentals. His body percussion happening here. So he's gone on these same tracks. And he kind of stops. Why does he stop? Let's listen here.
And Susie ain't your friend.
All right, bro, right in the chorus
Look who
there.
took you under with 7 inches in. Blood
So
is
cool.
on the knife.
Interesting that this percussion kind of trailed off for that section. It doesn't, I don't think, in the other choruses. Let's listen to the gang vocals.
Susie got your number. Susie ain't your friend. Look who took you under with 7 inches in.
That in context, or out of context with this.
And Susie ain't your friend. Look who took you under with 7 inches in.
He's able to be really off the cuff and improvisational because the backing vocals that he and I think there's maybe some other vocal layers in
But
there.
I just can't take it, just can't bring it.
Oh yeah.
And Susie ain't your friend. Look who took you under with 7 inches in.
He's really going all out in intensity there on that main track, and these.
Susie got your number. Susie ain't your friend. Look who took you under with 7 inches in.
You can hear the cohesiveness when the whole mix is put together. It's really interesting, though, how there's this constant give and take and call and answer between these parts. Other Michael Jackson songs are not recorded this obviously in this way.
Blood is on the knife. Susie got your number. And Susie says it's right.
Listen to how he blurs that, right?
And Susie says it's right.
Oh, you can do that because he's got these backups.
Susie says it's right.
It adds so much more soul to have this sort of slurred, carefree sort of approach with the tighter backing harmonies that he's put down. Okay, we get back to this wonderful revolving breathing and percussion.
To know the stranger is out to kill.
Oh yeah.
She got your baby. It happened fast. If you could only
Hear the growling there? Oh man.
happen fast. If you could only erase the past.
Erase the past. It's so exaggerated. This wouldn't sound good on its own, but put together with everything else.
Happen fast. If you could only erase the past.
Oh, what? Amazing. So let's find that. It's the interaction of all of them. Oh, yeah, it's all of them together that created that wonderful, like, slingshot sort of sound. Oh, jeez. Oh, okay, right there it is. Wow. I'm going to put the horn section background vocals in here with this next pre-chorus.
To escape the world, I got to enjoy this simple dance and seeing that everything was on my side. Blood on my side. It seems sincere, but lit with love and true romance.
Courtesy stop.
And now she's out to get me, but I just can't take it, just can't bring it. Susie got your number, and Susie ain't your friend.
Notice that these little subtleties here. Pow, pow. Wow.
Got your number, and Susie ain't your friend. Look who ducked you under. We're 7 inches in. Blood
The woo.
Blood is on the dance floor. Blood is on the knife.
So we've got some interesting things happening synth-wise. I touched on it earlier, how there's these massive layers. Again, this is very horn-heavy arranging influenced by. We've got those going on with the vocals. And we've got these stacks. Synth strings, horns, really adds to what's happening vocally as well.
It was blood on the dance floor.
Now this section is pretty awesome because we've got this going on here.
It was blood on the dance floor. Blood on the dance floor. It was blood on the dance floor. Blood on the dance floor. It was blood on.
It's a blood on the. I mean, listen to those weird harmonies in the back that perfectly create these branches of sounds.
Blood on the dance floor. It was blood on the dance floor. Ooh, blood on the dance floor. It was blood on the dance floor. Ooh, blood on the dance floor. And I just can't think it. The girl won't figure.
Flood. That ninth in there. Oh, it's so cool. More mouth percussion here. Could listen to this all day.
Yeah.
Oh, what's that? We gotta make that bigger.
Michael, it's completely taken the track to a different level.
Yeah.
Oh!
Michael, it's completely taken the track to a different level.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome to hear.
Michael, it's completely taken the track to a different level.
Yeah.
I agree, and it's so fun to be able to hear this stuff in isolation and out of context. Go listen to the studio mix now and see if you can pick out some of this stuff. It's kind of difficult. If you got a really good pair of headphones, I can hear it now, but only because I have had the chance to go through these multi-tracks like this. I hope you enjoyed this. I sure do. Again, if you want more help with your own voice, you're inspired by this, you're inspired by my approach, click the link below and join my free voice course. We'll see you for more.